Hi The Last of Us fans, I'm Louise Griffin and I'm the Sci-Fi and Fantasy Editor at radiotimes.com.
And I'm Rob Leane, the Gaming Editor at radiotimes.com.
And we've finally seen what's happened in the finale episode of The Last of Us. I'm still recovering, I think you are as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, let's get into it. What did you think?
Well, obviously I come to everything from the perspective of the game, and it was there was a lot of debate in the build-up to the show about whether they would cover the whole ground of the first game in season 1, and they actually did. This is very much the ending of the first game is pretty much shot for shot the ending that you see here, which is cool. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, what I love is throughout the series, I think a lot of people were expecting it to be super, super action-packed, super jam-packed, and I really love that they've taken the time to build up those relationships, and by the time you get into episode 9, you know the relationship between Joel and Ellie, and I think that just makes the finale episode so much more meaningful, and the action that does happen so much more tense. I feel like I didn't take a breath for most of it. But we start off, of course, with Ashley Johnson, who voices Ellie in the games, her appearance. I know you were a big fan of that.
Yes, that was very cool. And that was a whole new scene that isn't in the game as well. I think in the game you can kind of pick up the odd letter or kind of scrap of paper that kind of alludes to what happened with Ellie's mum, but to actually see it and for her to be played by Ashley Johnson from the game, it's just really cool, and it kind of raises lots of questions as well of if you had other pregnant people that also got bitten, would their kids also be immune, or was it a freak one-off thing? But no, great scene, and really kind of different, fun way to start the episode, I thought. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. And I think throughout the series, they have kind of honoured the games in that way. We've seen, obviously, Troy Baker, who voiced Joel in the games, coming back as James. And I just thought it was so lovely for Ashley Johnson. I know Troy Baker recently said something about how Ellie's soul is kind of split between Ashley and Bella. And I thought that was a really sweet way to put it. And I thought Ashley did an amazing job.
Yeah, she was so great. And you can kind of just see how you can imagine how they would be related, because they are their performances. They're not. I don't think Bella's doing a exact mimic of Ashley, but you can kind of believe that they would be mother and daughter. And also, speaking of people from the games, I realised as the credits were coming down on this episode that there's another game person cameo in the episode that I'd otherwise totally missed. But the scene when Joel kind of bursts into the operating theatre, one of the nurses who are scrub cap and mask is Laura Bailey, who plays Abby in the second game. So that's kind of a cool little throw forward.
That's amazing. I didn't even notice that. That's a brilliant little kind of Easter egg for fans. And then Ashley Johnson's character, of course, gets mentioned in the hospital scene, which, yeah, very that. How did you feel about that sequence? How similar was it to the games?
Once Joel's kind of set loose kind of thing? Yeah, very similar. I think you're kind of in the middle of kind of trying to explore your way into the city, and then they do the similar stuff of they see the giraffe, love the giraffe moment. They kind of see the kind of old government camp and stuff, and then I can't remember exactly how you get captured in the game. But yeah, it's similar that now you're captured. Joel, they've been separated by the time that Joel wakes up. And yeah, it's very similar what happens. Basically, Marlene argues the argument of, we need to take Ellie's brain out or whatever to save the world. And it's interesting with a lot of games, a moment like that, it might be a choice of do you want to save Ellie or do you want to save the world kind of thing. But Last of Us being so cinematic as a game, it doesn't give the player the choice. Just you just kind of, because you're in the character of Joel, you just kind of have to believe and go along with it. This is what he would do. But was it shocking to you to kind of see how it went?
Yeah, it was, and for me it was just such a masterclass from Pedro Pascal. I know, of course, there's been a lot of talk about the casting, but for me, I think Bella Ramsey showed last week why she was so brilliant in the role, and this, I think, was really Pedro's moment. And yeah, it was a complete shocker. I didn't really see it coming, but then looking back, it made complete sense why he would want to save her. And I think it goes back to what I was saying about them really, really building up that relationship. And of course, then he, it's not even really a decision for him to save her. It's just completely in his brain. It's the only thing that needs to happen. What does that mean for humanity, for the future of the show? What do you think?
I think having played the second game, which is weirdly, I think, is now kind of spoilers for what might happen in the future of the show, And it's interesting because there was like a 7-year gap in real life between the first game and the second game coming out. And then that whole time it's just like, oh, this is just The Last of Us. They didn't announce that there would be a second game for ages. It's like, this is the ending of that story. And as like an ending, it's very downbeat. And like, I think it has the exact same final shot of like close up in on Ellie's face as she kind of confronts Joel over whether he's telling the truth or not about what happened. And then she kind of begrudgingly agrees to like believe him. Like, you can even kind of tell in the moment, like she's just like, okay, right? She doesn't believe it really. But yeah, all that stuff carries over into the second game. But it'll be interesting because the second game, again, there's a big time jump in the game as well. I think it's meant to be 4 or 5 years later. And it'll be interesting to see if they do that in the show or if they just kind of carry on, because I think there's a lot of kind of gap in between that you could fill in. But yeah, I think like Joel carries a lot of guilt for that, but also I think he fully believes that he did the right thing. And that's kind of the journey of the whole show / film. I think they kind of accentuate it more in the show, is that like kind of as they travel through the world, they kind of see these vignettes of other people's lives, like Bill and Frank in episode 3, and then Sam and his brother in whichever episode that was. And then in episode 8, the stuff with David and his whole kind of weird kind of cannibal group of people. But it's kind of, you kind of see these little vignettes of like the lengths people will go to look after the people that they care about, or the people that are kind of like attached to them. And then kind of the ultimate one that gets to the end, it's like, would Joel put like the entire world in jeopardy to save Ellie? And I think like 100% he would, but like there are going to be consequences for that.
Yeah, that moment you were talking about where she makes him swear, that was the real, I think, gut punch for me rather than anything else, because you know how much I love that relationship, and that's just kind of the moment where you're like, it just can't be how it was anymore now that he's lied to her. And now that, I mean, I don't know if she's going to find out. I assume there's going to be some, as you say, some major consequences to come in season 2 for him, which I'm not excited about because, yeah. But yeah, we're going to have to see how it goes in season 2. I'm very excited about it. I know there's some stuff from the games that we're super excited about to come, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the character of Abby, who was voiced by Laura Bailey and kind of physically played by other people in the game, for her to show up in season 2, I think will kind of be a real like kind of cat amongst the pigeons thing, because she's very much attached to, well, I won't spoil what her backstory is, but like it kind of ties back into everything that we've been talking about. So yeah, I think they're going to make us wait a while for it as well. I wish it was like, and we know it's coming out in 3 months, but it's probably going to be like years or something that we have to wait, right?
Yeah, I think Pedro Pascal teased it might be filming this year, so fingers crossed.
Nice.
So let us know what you thought of the episode, and head to radiotimes.com for everything The Last of Us and much, much more. We're, I think, off to process our feelings a bit more.
Gonna go cry.